Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. George Loveridge. How you doing, George?
I'm absolutely fine, James. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm really excited for today's episode. Today's episode is part of our artist profile series. We're going to have a look at Mr. Stevie Ray Vaughan, who both of us have been a big fan of Mr. Vaughan's guitar playing for years and years and years and years. So I'm really excited to get into that. So what are we going to cover today, George?
So we're looking at Stevie Ray Vaughan, and why was he so good? Just blanket template. We've got a couple of songs to talk about. So we're going to look at our technical focus first. We've got a couple of songs that we're going to back between us. So stick around for that. From there, we're going neck deep. An outline of Stevie Ray's early life, where he's from, his guitar, of course, as with all these artist profile series episodes. We have to talk about the signature guitar that they used. And then a bit of tone talk. Amps, pedals perhaps, tuning, and of course, strings. A lot of people talk about strings when it comes to Stevie Ray Vaughan. So yeah, hopefully that gives you an outline of what's going on today.
And I think as well, if you're kind of looking into, if you're a keen improviser and wanting to improve your improvisations, there's a lot that I've taken personally in my own playing, and I know you have as well.
It's Grand Theft Auto guitar playing.
Yeah, and the way that he played was so different to anybody else that I was studying at the time. It was a real light bulb moment for me, and how the tactile touch of the guitar is as important as the stuff that you're plugging into.
I would agree. Now, before we get going, before you get really cross, if this has attracted any new viewers, we like to do things properly, but we're just going direct today in terms of tones. We don't have the facilities to crank all of these up and record it, so we're just going direct, but we've done the best we can.
And what are you using today, George?
So today I'm using a Boss Katana Go. I've made an SRV preset. All the mids, all the treble, all the volume, not a lot of gain, through 3 single coil pickups.
And we'll talk about tones later on, but just for everybody,
you're a bit different, aren't you?
I'm using a Quad Cortex with a Fender Super Reverb into a 2x12 cab, with a couple of variations and flavors of Tube Screamer to go into. So we'll and I've done a bit of reading, and we'll go into that. So what's a really, if you were to recommend a student comes in and sits in the lesson room with you and goes, Texas Blues, what's that all about? You instantly go, Stevie Ray Vaughan. What's the song that you're going to show them first?
Well, our intro jam, Texas Flood, comes to mind straight away. But I think the caveat, the main SRV song you have to listen first is Pride and Joy.
Yes.
That is just, if you look up Stevie Ray Vaughan in the dictionary, Pride and Joy starts playing as you open the pages.
So let's have a. So
this is your remake, this one. Did miss one important thing, that was well played.
Go on.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, the first, this is what I think of.
Okay, yeah, I know where you... Okay, I stand corrected.
Is, to me, like you think of the start of any... Well, it's very Hendrix-esque.
Yes.
And that's an influence which we can talk about later if we remember to. But that sound is just, listen to that at night, just has a certain feel to it. You can feel the Texas heat in that riff.
So what makes Texas blues different from the other blues, other styles of blues like Chicago blues or similar, it's got this kind of like rough and readiness about it, or I feel it's kind of like, that's another great Stevie Ray Vaughan song was Rude Mood. Yeah. And I saw an interview of his where he sort of said, why did you call it Rude Mood? And he says it just sounds like a bad mood. And I think Pride and Joy's got the same, and I don't know if you were watching me play this, it's got this kind of circular. Now, rather than, because what I'm doing is I'm playing the chords, and I'm playing like a walking bass part at the same time. It's quite hard to
at the same time.
To do, well, to play them independently is what I mean, because I played them together for so long. But because Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, they were a trio, weren't they? They didn't have another guitar player. So I find that he's playing a couple of different parts at the same time to really kind of fill it out. So what am I doing there? Well, I'm playing a 12-bar blues in the key of E, or E flat, because we're tuned down to E flat, which we'll get to in a bit. You got an E, an A, and a B7 chord.
1, 4, 5.
But we've got this choppy kind of syncopated. Now, what's happening is I'm not doing this to be performative. This is how he'd play the sort of what's the right word for it? How would you describe
Rushing.
that motion? Yeah, it's almost like a circular motion. My plectrum's travelling in.
But if you look at one of Stevie Ray's guitars, you'll see it's worn.
Yeah.
Just above the neck pickup, and that's literally where he's been brushing round and round.
But he
and
would
round.
play in this circular motion, and it's almost like he's playing the bass notes on the way down, circling round, and playing the upstroke on the chord on the way back, and it gives you this. Let me take my gain off. Now, when you slow it down, it doesn't sound very pleasant, does it? But yeah.
I love in that the gasp of air in the middle, the open strings. The open strings in the key, you can only get away with that in the key of E, really.
Yeah.
Because the strings are tuned to, E flat, sorry. But that just sounds wicked. It's that, there's so much going on. There's polyrhythms going on. There's all sorts cracking on.
And I think what a lot of guitarists can take from learning a song like Pride and Joy is just the pure amount of mileage that you can get out of using the open position pentatonics.
Absolutely.
It's not just reserved for, sort of begin. Because a lot of, I don't know about you, but when I'm getting into blues soloing, I will teach the pentatonic scale in the open position. Which I think a lot of people learn that and then go, oh, well, okay, I've learned that, but actually I want to get up the dusty end because it's far more exciting up there. When actually you can get so much. All that kind of stuff is all in there.
The Chicago stuff.
Yeah.
I think the Texas is that evolution.
Okay.
Sort of one step further. It's sort of your whiskey on your cornflakes. Because you get from the... And Stevie came along and went... It's that step up. You get someone like...
And I think, sorry to cut you off, but it's geographic change, isn't it? It's kind of like it's one idea at sort of at completely different, literally different states of
that Dallas sound.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what's another great song?
So
what would you follow up with that?
Texas Flood.
Okay,
it's a really steady jam, and we're going to change the key. We're going into G now. Now we're at G for us, but because we're in E flat. So yeah, this one. Let's just see if we can do it. So this one, he's playing it on his middle position 2 or position 4.
Okay.
So essentially, I've got my neck and my middle pickup together. And I'm only playing on volume 7 on my guitar.
Right.
Stevie did use pedals, but his amps were always smoking hot, literally smoking hot. So he, as you said, the touch is more than anything than the gear. Just that intro. And all the while, all that's going on in the background is this... And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just is it in 6/8?
Yeah.
Yeah. That ride cymbal, and that's it. And Stevie is carrying the rest of it. And the sound is so fat.
I taught the lead class last night, and just as a warm up in preparation for this episode, I said, right, okay, I'm going to give you this backing track to play over. Hypothetically, you're in a blues trio, so there's no other guitar player playing the harmony, and you're jamming along with double trouble, bass player and a drummer, right? I want you to improvise over this. They've all got the Katana Air headphones on.
Get a bit messy otherwise.
And I want you to sort of see how long you can keep the ball in the air before the wheels fall off, because you've just not got to blaze over a pentatonic scale. You've got to be mindful of the chord tones moving through a blues in G. And a couple of them while they're playing, I could see their eyes widen, almost like they're bitten off way more than they could chew.
Yeah,
just
it's
simply
a lot
because
on your
it's
own.
because that, I think, until you use something like Moises to take away the guitar parts of Stevie Ray, I don't think you actually realise how much he was doing.
Absolutely. His lead parts, like in that, just before he starts singing, he does this... Walks into the 5 chord, but that's solo rhythm. And then his vocal as well. We have to talk about that a little bit. It's screaming as much as his guitar is, and I can only dream of being blessed enough to sing like that. But his vocal doesn't really... It's not that soulful. It's big and it's loud and it's in your face. But he's leaving his guitar to do that. All of that overbending in the blues shapes really complement that big sort of boomy voice. Because he does, the guitar does half the talking.
Yes.
Or maybe, what would you say, 60-40 split?
Maybe.
Yeah, so Texas Flood, listen to that one because it's just so
And I just want to talk about those bends because that's a really kind of like hallmark. One thing that I pulled out of Stevie's playing was it's the Albert King thing, isn't it? You play second position pentatonic. So if we're in the key of G, you call it House of Blues, don't you? You get into that second position, and you can take that. Albert King would play. So I'm in the key of G. I'm bending the C note on the 8th fret of the high E, and Albert King would maybe bend it. Stevie plays the same thing but hits it with a sledgehammer.
I'm not confident enough to give it that much whack up there, so I'll kick it up. Because Stevie would overbend.
But because he's the only player, because he's the only, obviously the bass player's providing harmony, but because Stevie hasn't got, I know they'd have an organ from time to time.
Yeah, in their live performances,
I forget his name off the top of my head. Let me know in the comments. He plays with Joe Bonamassa now. I've forgotten his name. Wow. Really, really sorry. I did try and remember it. But because he's got that harmonic range and he's responsible for so much of it, he can overbend the notes and it doesn't sound like a sack of spuds. No. You know?
Like Gilmore.
Yeah.
You said the backing in a Gilmore song from one of our other artist profiles. The solo for Brick in the Wall is D-7 for a year. So he can play whatever he wants. Yeah. And there's so much more tonal possibilities. You mentioned hitting the notes with a sledgehammer. Mm-hmm. We've got these huge Fender amps that running 2 to 4 at a time. But then you get Lenny. Something a little bit different. So now I'm going to the neck pickup. Again, keeping the volume low. Now, could you hear in that how it's very softly, and then that mood, that aggression again, and then just from the tactile touch, he kicks it to his bridge pickup. That is so sharp, but then in the same breath.
So
it's awesome.
Like, because we've played for a while and we know, and we sort of know what's going on here. It's all using the circuit within the Stratocaster, isn't it? Is how he's getting that.
People usually use their feet and gear, but he's just using the guitar au naturel sort of thing. He's dialing the tone back. He's changing pickups. His right hand is, moving around, but he's constantly. If you watch him live, you can see he's constantly faffing, like most guitarists do. They want to be louder, but because his amps were so loud, he could afford, and that range. It just shows how powerful his guitar was. Yeah, that it could talk.
So rather than having a boost pedal, what he'd do is he'd run his guitar, almost his clean tone would be sort of on. If your volume control on your guitar goes up to 10, let's say he'd run his rhythm guitar tone would be just rolling it back from 5 to 7. Yeah, he'd then turn it up to 10 for his lead guitar tone, right? Then the pickup selection, neck pickup for kind of the rhythm stuff. Lead pickup for the lead stuff, and that sort of glassy, almost Hendrix-like thing, you'd use either one of the position 2, 3, or 4. Yeah,
Stevie's mid's on his amp, and his middle pickup was his sound. Am I right? I think he had a treble bleed as well on one of his guitars.
I couldn't tell you. I know.
Okay, so I know that we'll get onto it in a sec. If you want to sound like Stevie, you can buy a Texas Special Strat. They're £2,300. And they have the Texas Special pickups, which were developed by Remy Martinez.
Yeah, okay.
Stevie's
so he was tech, yeah.
Yeah, who's still about and does stuff for his brother Jimmy. But that treble bleed, am I right thinking that is a bit like Gilmore, where you get your neck and your bridge simultaneously?
I'm the wrong person to ask about that.
The only other thing I can tell you about his pickups is one of these guitars, they put a dummy coil.
Yes.
So you can hear, I don't know if you can, you might be able to edit out, but this is with my hot. There's a bit of interference, that hum. That's why humbuckers were developed. But with a dummy coiling, you'd lose that. Because if he was playing a big stadium show, all you'd hear is that, through a million watts of amps.
So what that is it takes the same technology that you'd find in a humbucking pickup, because humbuckers don't
hum.
They don't pop fart and carry
do,
on
yeah.
like single coil pickups do. But what it does is it doesn't affect the sound by putting the dummy coil in. You just get the advantage of having that, and that was under the scratch plate.
Yeah, it
somewhere,
was. It was hidden away. So
hidden away.
We've done the Sledgehammer. We've done the Lighter Touch from Lenny. Have a listen. That is really against his usual stuff.
It's really it's a ballad, isn't it?
It's gorgeous. It's verging on Little Wing levels of just niceness. Can you turn up the heat again for us then?
Right. So, Mary Had a Little Lamb is often one that a lot of guitar teachers, if somebody comes into the lesson room and goes, want to learn a Stevie Ray Vaughan song, it's either Pride and Joy or Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mm-hmm. I like Mary Had a Little Lamb because it's got this kind of, it's got the pentatonic. And it still uses the E7.
So it's still 145 in E then, yeah?
And then the A7. And then B7. So it's still a 145. It's still a blues. But it almost kind of, again, it's borrowing from other bits, because you've got to remember, most people think of the blues and they think of the 50s and the 60s, don't they? This is the 80s, isn't it?
That's the thing you have to remember. It was 1990 when he died.
Was it so late? Right, okay,
Yeah. So the fact that, was it 90? Mid-90s? Anyway, he was 35.
Right.
But, he was reinventing the wheel again. Or he's like, I like Jimi Hendrix. Mm-hmm. I like Albert King. I'm going to put my own stamp on it. As you say, it is the 80s.
But what I liked about that, you think of other guitar players from the 80s, like, because there's kind of like two modes of thought, isn't there, with the guitarists in the 80s? You've got the sort of the Guns N' Roses, the Motley Crues, the sort of late 80s stuff that I know you're really into at the minute, aren't you? But then you've got the whole kind of Nile Rodgers and Chic kind of...
Strats and blues, yeah. And strumming.
Now, what I like about that, you put Stevie Ray Vaughan and Nile Rodgers together, which they did. There is a little bit of crossover there, which we can talk about in a minute. But that is very kind of. It's got that sort of little bit of a funk kind of bounce. So, he also played guitar for David Bowie for a little bit. Did you know that?
No.
Right. Let's Dance, the solo, and Let's Dance, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Is it? Well, that makes so much sense now you've said that.
Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing that record, just like on the radio.
I know Niall's good, but he's not that good.
Well, because Niall produced it. Yeah. And Bowie was desperate for Stevie to go on the road with him as his guitar player.
Wow.
And this is before he'd made any money or done any sort of... they had a cult following in Austin.
Yes.
And then, but didn't really struggle to break out anywhere else. So Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble were an act for such a long time, to the point where it's kind of like, is it even worth doing it anymore? Because the momentum wasn't picking up, and then all of a sudden it just went.
Yeah, so Stevie had a friend from Dallas, and they were both guitarists, as far as I'm aware. Mm-hmm. And Stevie was taking off. It was going from club gigs to shows to stadiums, and they were still friends all the way through. But Stevie, obviously, he had a gift. Like, just look at him playing. Mm-hmm. That's why he took off. But yeah, I didn't know he played with Bowie.
Bowie was he was hired as a session player for that, and then was Bowie really wanted him to go on the road with him, but he wanted to do his own thing, and he had his own mind with sort of like Double Trouble and his own music.
Stevie was so humble. Like, there's a video, I've referenced it before, BB King and Friends, 1988, I want to say. BB King's hosting this night, and he doesn't stop playing for like 2 hours, and all of a sudden he's saying, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Clapton, and then Clapton comes on and plays Thrill Is Gone with him. Then Stevie comes on with Albert King and plays, Hideaway or something. And he's looking around thinking, I'm stood next to Eric Clapton, who's been kicking since the 60s. Mm. And, I'm still with Gladys Knight and Etta James and B.B. King. And he can contribute to all of that fire.
Yeah, he's holding his own, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but he's sort of looking around like, wow, how is this happening?
But, I mean, imagine if you were put in that scenario, though. You've been listening, because he'll have been listening to those people for years.
Yeah, because he existed when he was...
Yeah, and then he's like playing with his heroes. John Mayer said it in multiple interviews, like he goes to these sort of things and he just can't believe that he's stood. Now we know, he's a fantastic,
It's phenomenal, yeah.
He'd blow us out of the water, but it's sometimes people just don't really, they've no idea how good they are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know he's not with us anymore, B.B. King, but when you sat next to B.B. King in 2006 in that performance, it's like, what?
Yeah.
He's, I think when Stevie was born, that's when Muddy Waters started doing the...
Yeah.
He was that's the genesis of it all, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Shall I move on to another one then?
Absolutely.
You mentioned the brushing circular motion, Cold Shot.
ace song. If anyone's not seen the music video for that, I urge you to go.
I was about to say, watch the music video. It's phenomenal. A lot of us, you can actually relate to this. There's a section in the video where he's not paying his wife any attention. Not you pay your wife plenty of attention, but she keeps confiscating his guitars. He goes, right, get another one. She smashes that one up. He grabs another one. It goes on for like half a minute where he just keeps changing.
So you
guitars.
know I got this from 5 Watt World. I get a lot of inspiration for these episodes from there. So thank you very much for that. Go check those guys out. They're awesome. You know the red custom built guitar that says Stevie Ray in the neck. Yeah. That guitar got damaged in that video. Ironically, making it. Yeah, and they had to wear all the. Sorry, no, it wasn't that one. It was Couldn't Stand the Weather. There were.
Oh yeah.
It got damaged in. I don't know if you've seen the video where he's playing in a thunderstorm, basically. Yes. Yeah, and they used the actual guitar for that, and it ruined it.
So yeah, Cold Shot. It's really simple actually. Mm-hmm. It's another blues in A, but he's playing lead and rhythm simultaneously. And this, apart from being thrown off tower blocks, the most memorable thing I remember from this song is the slides. That is Stevie as well.
And I think it's that digging your boots in the ground and being like, no, listen to me. I'm playing now. It's the sheer goal of it all, isn't it? It's awesome.
So again, I'm still sticking quite low on the volume.
But can you see how like we were using that?
Yeah, round and the open strings.
But then you would move to a completely different place on the neck, and that's you sort of playing the same riff, but moving
it into the 4 chord. Yeah, and he doesn't replicate it on the 5 chord. He does the turnaround, which is your whole the walk back down. Yeah, when he hits the 5. That is. Have you ever played hill climb racing?
No.
It's an app. You might have done. A little red car and a green. Anyway, that sort of, it's that same sort of thing. But what he does, all those slides, really aggressive on the low E string, and we'll come to why that sounded so aggressive in a minute with his strings. But yeah, I remember when I first learned this, it's relentless. And I actually messed it up there because he hangs every now and again. I can't remember the duration, but he hangs. He hangs on the double stop. So usually he cuts it off dead straight. So I actually started on the wrong note. I started on the A instead of the G. So yeah, Cold Shot, have a listen, and there's a really good solo. It's not one of his most blistering songs, I don't think, but you say comical music video. But that, if you want to work on your rhythm and your swung rhythms as well, it's all quavers, 1 and 2 and 3, and you're just constantly washing your guitar around and round.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the gear then.
Okay, go on.
Now
I'll pass this one to you.
So Stevie Ray's number one was a pre-CBS Stratocaster. Looks like this one, but it's been kicked around the car park more than mine has.
Yes.
Now, it was a Partsacaster. Now, what that means is basically he'd been on the road with this guitar for so long that things break and get repaired. So my research leads me to believe it's an early 60s Sunburst Strat with a 62 neck, a 63 body, and 59 pickups that were overwound to give him that sound. Now, pickups, you can put more. A pickup's essentially a magnet wrapped in copper wire, and you can overwind a pickup by putting more copper round the pickup, which makes it more. It gives it a lot more output, which will make it sort of a lot bigger sounding. A humbucking pickup is double the amount. There's double the amount of copper in it than there is on a single coil. Now, you sound like you've got a little bit of a story to tell about this guitar.
So actually, my research for this comes from, there's a version of Little Wing where there's Stevie talking over it. If you've heard it, it's really nice. Because Stevie's Little Wing, double trouble, really stretched their legs in the way that Stevie switches off for a little bit. But yeah, it was in, call it Lenny, the guitar, because I think that was his wife's. Did he not?
No, the Sunburst Strat wasn't called Lenny. Lenny was another pre-CBS Strat that he couldn't afford. He really wanted.
Yeah, it was a birthday present, wasn't it?
Well, his wife managed to reach out to a load of friends, and basically a load of friends for his birthday all chipped in $50 to buy this guitar.
I think.
I don't know, but yeah, it was a gift from his wife. That's why it's called Lenny.
And his wife's nickname was? That's what I heard.
Lenora.
Yeah,
Lenora,
so he
isn't
called
it?
it. Yeah. So it's hanging in.
Just to be clear,
Go on,
we're
yeah.
talking about the Sunburst Strat
Sunburst
right
Strat.
now. Yeah.
So it was hanging up in a window, and it was a already, as he said, already beaten up 1959 Strat hanging in the window, and he said, "This is it," and that's why he sort of fell in love with that guitar. And he's played others and whatnot. He's got there's a couple of clips of him playing live with lipstick pickups and all sorts. And there's that famous clip. Oh, what solo is it? I've forgotten now. Where he snaps a string, shaking like a tree. Look a Little Sister.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one. Can we just?
Yeah.
That's open A. That
Yeah.
one. I can't remember it off by heart. Yeah, but you'll have all seen that clip on your reels or your TikToks or whatever, where he snaps a string, carries on singing in the bridge, and his guitar tech brings him another guitar and carries on.
That's the dream, isn't it?
It is. And then you get BB King snapping a string.
And he does it
he's saying,
himself.
I woke up this morning. The band's going. And he's just changing the string as he's going on.
So yeah, Stratocasters, really like Stratocasters. Had quite a lot of different variations, but the one thing that, quite a lot of different guitars through different brands. Tokai gave him some. The the cover for Texas Flood, it's a painting, isn't it? Well, the original photograph for that is actually playing a Tokai guitar, not a Fender.
Right, didn't know that.
Yeah, and they really like that Stratocaster sound, but the guitar that was dubbed number one, which is the Sunburst one that's all beaten up, was his number one guitar. It just happened to get, they had to change the neck on it because it had so many refrets that there was no more wood left in the neck to do that.
He must have gone to stainless, wasn't he?
Well, he's, I don't know if he'd went to stainless, but I've actually done that mod to this guitar, where put bigger frets in it just to get those bends and get more life out of it. I mean, that guitar's still on the original frets, isn't it? Yeah, and has it got quite a lot of flat spots now?
16 years old, and you know what? It's okay. Every now and again you get a couple, it's not divoted, but the Texas Special I mentioned, they're built so faithfully that players who've had those report of where the frets end up looking like the nut of the guitar, where if you've got a guitar you've had for a while, just peel back the strings and you might be able to see some, as you say, divots where the strings have been digging in and they've worn down. But it's a hard life, isn't it? Played a guitar so much you've actually worn it.
You've actually worn it.
Well, look at my telly. If you look back to our 60s episode, you can see I've relic the body, but the fretboard, that's real wear, where I've actually worn into the maple wood.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, so amplifiers, it was well known
please.
for using, I think it was a Vibe. There's so many variations, this amplifier, I'm paraphrasing. If I get it wrong, I will put it in post. I think it's a Vibra Verb. I think that's what it's called, which is a Fender amplifier. Now, Fender amplifiers are all kind of built on the same platform, but with different wattages and different volumes, okay? So this Fender Princeton is just the same as a Fender Twin. It's same platform, might use slightly different tubes, more of, but it's the speakers that really change. I'm using a Fender Twin today in my Quad Cortex, but I think if you're looking to get the Stevie Ray Vaughan tone at home, what he was using was clean Fender amplifiers, but pushed.
Yeah, because it's not distorted. None of his stuff. They've got the headroom.
Well, there's no pedals in this chain. Now I can bring the volume back. Etc. But then I can make it back.
So that's you digging in like Stevie would. His touch was his hands, his touch. Like today I said to you, I always use Tortex Sharp picks 0.73 of a mil. Today I'm using a regular one because I feel like it's too thin, the sound. I can dig a little bit deeper into the strings.
I raise your plectrum game because Stevie wouldn't play with the sharp part of the plectrum. He would play with the side.
I see.
So, I mean, we're getting this is really kind of like anorak material.
It's not even raining outside.
But if you play with the point of the plectrum, gives you some more, it's a little bit more focused, a little bit more sharp. He would actually play with the side of the plectrum. And you can see that in, like memorabilia gets sold off and put in museums and stuff. And if you ever look at any of his plectrums, they're all worn on the side. He doesn't play with the bit
Well, that
at the
makes
top.
so much sense then.
But try and do that at home. It's a really strange sensation.
This
trying to play
compared to a
like.
sharp pick probably has, if you can see, you probably can't, has an extra like mill on the end, and it's sharp, as Andy calls them here. They're knives. They are. You can probably cut yourself with them, but that's why I'm getting that thicker sound. That explains it compared to the. Yeah,
but I think a big part of the sound is amplifiers that are just crunching up just enough, but also just the sheer amount of volume. Well known for using, like he had a Dumble amp for a while, which is a very kind of rare, very, very expensive amplifiers. But it was always big, clean, loads of headroom amplifiers, and then
What do we mean by headroom for those that are at the back?
So headroom basically means this little Fender amp has no headroom whatsoever. You turn it up to a gig volume and it will start to distort. You might not want it. You might want it to be like you think of somebody like Johnny Marr, who is famous for having these gorgeous clean tones. He'll need, if he's using valve amps, he'll need a valve amp with a lot of wattage to make sure that it stays clean for louder. It can go really loud and really clean. Now, that's not what always people want. Personally, if I'm playing really loud, I want it to crunch up. That's why I use my little Princeton.
Whereas my Rock Pro,
yeah,
200 watt amp, 12-inch speaker,
yeah,
I can put that at volume 6 or 7, which is bonkers. My head's already hurting, but it's still clean.
Yeah, but then he would go past that though. So it just, because it's part of that trio thing as well. It's having the sort of, we describe it as the wall of sound, don't we? When you play with a Marshall 4x12, you can feel it in the room, and it's the same idea. But then he'd use Ibanez Tube Screamer pedals.
I was going to say, I've got a Tube Screamer in this Katana Go setup.
So
very little gain, but a Tube
Well,
Screamer.
that's it. And I think, it's more kind of presence and mids. It's not necessarily gain. Because I've got two flavours of Tube Screamer here. This is my clean tone. I put Tube Screamer 1 on. Yeah, the difference.
Yeah. All right, then. I'll raise you. So, yeah, this is just a Boss Tube Screamer in the Katana Go with... Take it off. Oh, play it right, but...
Loads of difference.
Another thing Stevie did, what I've nicked.
Yeah.
After a line, high E string, always. Always. That's just something he did, and I've nicked from him. But yeah, Tube Screamer. Well, I've also got a compressor on here.
Right, okay.
And spring reverb.
One thing he always do as well, looking at in the research that I've done, in post, he would put the tiniest little bit of chorus.
Yeah, I looked at that when I was doing research about tones. I did think, really? Because there are some...
You won't know it, but I've got a little bit of chorus in this. You'd never know. That's what it is on the end of the chain. You see the blue one. Okay.
Now you mention it, yeah.
Can you hear it now? Yeah. And
it's just softer, though.
It's just enough to kind of make it, make it sound.
Only one more thing I want to mention, because we've probably been speaking for hours at this point. Strings.
Yes.
I mentioned this at the start. It's sort of renowned that Stevie used heavy strings, play heavy strings. There's a chap called Reese who's 17 and plays like Stevie. Go and have a watch, Pedal Porn. We never advise you to go anywhere else, but just go and have a look at that. His point was that Billy Gibbons, B.B. King played 7 and 8 gauge strings. You're still getting a good tone. Because what's the point in playing heavy strings? Apparently you get a better tone. If you play lighter on a lighter gauge string, you still get the same tone as playing like Stevie, smashing the strings at 13.
I'm using 10s today on this guitar.
Yeah, 10s
this is my kind of workhorse guitar. If you go watch me at a gig, chances are I'll be playing this guitar. I'm regretting not getting a set of 11s or 12s just for the episode, really, because it fit the feel really.
It's wrong.
It feels real. I feel like I'm going to bust a string.
Yeah, that's what I said for the text of Flood. Yeah, so he played set of 13s on his 2 E strings, and the rest were 11s.
Right. Okay.
So that's why you get that huge, that big. I'm really having to pull the string a lot further than I want to get that slap.
But also, by being that rough with a thinner string, what you're risking is the string going out of tune.
Oh yeah, definitely. That
thicker strings do sit a lot more stable. Now that you have to have your guitar set up a certain way. But if you want that big sort of, but I'm thinking 13 on the high E, and he's doing all those massive bends. No wonder his fingers are
that's it. So
chewed up.
You have to think. Right, it sounds good, but if your hands can't cope, then you're going to have no tone. If you can't actually bend, like we see a lot of beginners playing beginner strats that were made by a company we can't even pronounce. It's like crap tyres on a car.
Yeah.
You know when you can't pronounce it? And we're trying to get them to do bends, and you think, oh, they're really struggling. No, it's because the string is like half a mile from the fretboard. And I imagine that's what it would be like to play such
And I
heavy
think
strings.
we've not mentioned it. We definitely need to mention it. Is Stevie Ray would often tune his guitars down to E flat. If you checked out our alternate tunings episode, instead of tuning the guitar E A D G B E, he tunes it all down a half step
to E flat or D sharp.
And I think that's personally, like we said in that episode, we both resonate with E flat tuning so much. If I was writing and recording my own music, and that was my thing, and I wasn't having to copy other people or simulate other guitar players, I think I would always have my guitar in E flat as well.
I think I've had this in E flat for a week now in preparation for this. I could have tuned it down last night, but I would have been messing around with it. It's happy. It's cool now. On the same setup, because I'm on the same gauge strings. If you're in E flat all the time, potentially a set of 11s.
Yeah.
But like 13s are designed for like, drop B and stuff like that for
it's people. Well, it's a bit like flat wound strings as well, isn't it? They're not really. They're used in such a style that they're not. You don't like a lot of jazz guitar players will play with 13 gauge strings and a lot of like bebop and stuff like that, where you don't really bend strings.
No,
and it's stylistic. But I definitely think do thicker strings affect your tone? If you're playing like Stevie Ray, yes, they do. If you're strumming Brown Eyed Girl, no.
Well, that's it. You get B.B. King who said to Billy Gibbons, "Why are you working so hard? Play, lighter strings." And as I played your Jag the other week after we finished filming, and I was worried I was going to break it.
Yeah.
On nines. Well, my telly's got a high E on a 9 on the high E because I snapped my 10, and the strings were too new to put a full new set on. But I digress. Each to their own. We usually progress players if they're snapping 9s up to 10s when they sort of get to a teenager.
I'd sort of 10s across the board is what I recommend to everybody.
On your electric guitar, that is.
But then certain guitars do certain jobs. You mentioned my Jags on 9s, and it came like that from the shop that I bought it from, and I'm quite happy to keep it on 9s. I have my Jazzmaster on 11s for the sort of down tuning stuff or the sort of more heavy duty stuff. But this is tools in your toolbox doing a certain job. If it was my full-time guitar, I'd probably have it on 10s. So
there we go.
I think we'll call it for today. Stevie Ray Vaughan, go check him out.
Definitely
the Texas Flood album is probably the place to start with that if I were you.
Yeah, or just even go for the greatest hits, get a general flavour. I know that you might scowl at me.
No.
And headbutt me after we finish filming, but I think just the greatest hits, just you get a general across the board and decide what you like, and then you can do your deeper homework.
And to be honest, I don't think there's a bad album. He's well known as well. We keep touching on stuff. Jimi Hendrix. He did a lot of like Jimi Hendrix covers, and that kind of
Stevie Wonder even.
Yeah, he did that version of Superstition, didn't he? And I think he took those ideas from other players and did his own, and sort of applied his own sort of like Texas flavour to it. It was cool.
Lenny thing from Motorhead.
Yeah.
He's doing God Save the Queen, but he's just nudged all the volume up and he's taken some gravel in his throat. Well, they had a similar breakfast, didn't they?
Yes.
Stevie Ray on Lenny.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And on that note,
JD on his cereal. But yeah, I think we should go into E standard, get the 12 string out, and pause it there for today.
Excellent. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week.